Have you ever had one of those weeks where no matter what it is you do, it never goes right? Well, it's been like that for me these past 7 or 8 weeks. And today I want to share with you something which I found works, while providing you with insights into my new season of podcasts on barriers to the audio industry.
Finding the work is difficult. Not everyone has the ability or the influence to help you get work.
I'm Philip Anderson, and this is Talking Point. Hello and a Happy New Year to you. Welcome to the programme, where today you find me once again in my joint recording studio come study, reflecting on past accomplishments. Does it work? Sometimes it does. But then I like to get a bit more creative. I start thinking, well, okay, let's start putting together 1 or 2 small recordings because I need something to give me that boost, that momentum, that something to propel me forward. Particularly if you've had a bad week or a bad few weeks, as in my case, where I've just not been all that productive, audio-wise, that is. Well, my energies have been concentrated elsewhere, really. My university, for one, and I've been overseeing some very, very complex household maintenance. I decided I was going to have all my interior doors replaced. And I've didn't realise just how big of a job it really was going to be, but it certainly turned out to be quite mammoth. But when you're living in an old property like mine where no 2 frames are the same, it makes fitting things very, very difficult, and you're having to cut everything to size. And I have to be on hand because I cannot abide. I'm a bit like Jacob in The Archers. If mistakes arise or problems arise, I like to be on hand to sort them out. And so I've been finding myself sort of struggling a bit audio-wise because I can't focus when I've got people in the property as well, and I need total concentration. And it's taken me a bit of time just to sort of get back in the saddle and get back into the swing of things, I suppose. It's a bit like falling off a bike. If you don't get back on it straight away or you don't dust yourself down, you can lose I'm not saying the will to live, but you can certainly lose the that drive and the confidence. So I needed a bit of a boost just to get me back on track, really. So what did I do? Well, this week I decided to put together a recording of me pretending to be a continuity announcer on Radio 4. Although I've had 1 or 2 commissions accepted on Radio 4, and I've presented, jointly presented in the past, 20-odd years ago on In Touch, and I was pleased that they were accepted, and I got paid handsomely for it. But I always had this dream of being a continuity announcer. But I don't think I quite have the voice.
BBC News at midnight. This is Brian Perkins.
And my icons of the past have been people like Andrew Crawford, Brian Perkins, Peter Donaldson, and I followed them for years. And in fact, Andy Crawford is someone I've been following since the 1990s.
Now, the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 0015 on Tuesday, the 7th of December.
He's the embodiment of what I think, a Radio 4 continuity announcer, should be.
The award-winning screenwriter Abby Mann has died at the age of 80. He won an Academy Award.
And, he was in the days of Charlotte Green and Katrina Young, who you can now hear on Radio 3 through the night.
Well, I think broadcasting at night feels very different from broadcasting during the day. We're on our own.
It's been quite extraordinary over the past year to see the difference that music...
Along with Jonathan Swain, yet another one of those wonderful BBC broadcasters whom, along with all the others I've just recounted, are a bit of a dying breed these days, and they're getting replaced by this modern personality. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Progress is necessary, else we wouldn't be where we are today. I mean, take your technology you're using at the moment. I mean, you wouldn't be using that if it weren't for progress.
The whole reason I started SpaceX was actually to try to increase NASA's budget. Or at least
People throw insults at the likes of Elon Musk, complaining he's a bit of a knob. I personally don't think he is. I think, when you're a genius like that, I think a little bit of madness can bring a lot to the table, and it says a lot about character. And he's not afraid to be himself. And, that's what I enjoy, just to be myself. And so this week I thought I would piece together a short demo of what it would be like if I were a continuity announcer on Radio 4. Here we go. Take 5. I think we all have our flights of fancy. Mine was to be a Radio 4 continuity announcer. No harm in dreaming.
BBC News.
Well, it's celebration time in 15 minutes on Front Row. Tonight, Samir Ahmed brings us this year's 2024 Booker Prize winners. And then at 8 o'clock, the Moral Maze. Here's Michael Burke.
Has steak had its chips? That's our Moral Maze tonight.
Certainly food for thought there, Michael. The Moral Maze begins just after the 8 o'clock news. This is BBC Radio 4. It's just after 2 minutes past 7. Ambridge beckons and Roots in trouble in the Archers. Well, there's the demo, folks. Thank you very much indeed for listening. The question is, did it work as a source of therapy? Well, yes, it did in a way. It's restored my faith in the audio world and has given me the impetus to carry on. So that has to be a good thing.
I wouldn't go as far as saying that it's a walk in the park, but I wouldn't.
Talking of the audio world, it's fortuitous that I happen to be recording this because my next epic season of Talking Point podcasts, coming out very shortly, is going to be around the barriers to the audio industry.
I would say it's more like trying to catch a bus that's not stopping.
Exploring everything from technology to financial inequalities.
Since COVID, a lot of people had to work from home, and a lot of actors took up audio book production because that's something they could still carry on and earn some money from their amazing voices. And a lot of studios suffered as a result of that.
While walking you through the 4 key stages of the post-production process.
Most importantly, it needs to be mastered to the distribution standards. That's something very, very important. So if it was recorded too quietly or there are loud parts and quiet parts, balancing the audio so there's no sudden loud bits and sudden quiet bits. Over the years, when things weren't done digitally, you'd have stomach rumbles and mouth noises and clicks and pops, and these can now all be removed. And it just makes a more pleasurable listening experience.
If you've ever wondered how it is your audiobook, say, or a piece of music goes from that raw sound to polished, well, stay tuned because I think you'll find this very fascinating.
The voice industry is considered one of the best industries when it comes to working with people.
And so for this episode, I'm going to be in conversation with 2 highly accomplished audio producers, Sam Wilkins and Morrison Ellis. Sam Wilkins has sight loss, and Morrison Ellis has been in the industry over 20 years and brought us, amongst other things, Doctor Who. Morrison Ellis.
I went from university into an audio production role, producing audio in Braille, sign language, accessible formats, and that moved quickly on to audiobooks. And in that time, my father lost all of his sight and became completely blind. So in the end, it became a hobby for both of us that turned into a full-time job, and it's just gone from strength to strength.
I was feeling very low because I wasn't getting any work in audio production, but it was thanks to Neil and Morrison's encouragement that I've carried on. It's led me to do all sorts of things. I've been to New York to the Audio Publishers Association conference, so people know me on both sides of the Atlantic.
So therefore, if it is you are a everyday consumer or an audio producer and you'd like to share your own experiences of the audio world, I would love to hear from you. Do get in touch. You can send me an email, info@talkingpoint.site, or you can send a text or a WhatsApp voice note to 07948 568 191.
The ABC is the only global initiative that is focusing entirely on this issue, bringing rights holders and visually impaired organisations and the libraries together and asking...
And in episode 2, we're going to be in conversation with the audiobook industry because we want to find out why there is a massive gulf between the number of books produced or printed and the number of books that actually make it into audio. Would you believe it, but only 10% of printed material ever makes it into audio.
The International Authors Forum is delighted to welcome this development because what is so important to authors is that they should be read as widely as possible and their work...
Some blame it on the authors, saying that they're the people who are refusing them permission from recording their books. I remember speaking to the RNIB, that's the Royal National Institute of Blind People, many years ago, and how Ted Hughes, the poet, had refused them permission to record his birthday letters. And what surprises me, that's a poetry collection. And poetry has been part of the oral tradition for heaven knows how long. Countless generations. And yet here he is, refusing the RNIB, an audio producer that's been producing books, over 70 years plus. His reasoning? It wouldn't translate from the printed page to the audio in the way he had intended. So in a way, he's basically discriminated against people with sight loss in that sense. So I want to find out really what's behind this gulf and what's been done to try and help bridge the gap. So again, whatever your experience in the audio industry, whether you're a consumer or an audio producer, I'd love to hear from you.
There's also haptics in the handle so that the device can warn you to...
Just to give you a heads up, as part of this season, we're also going to be bringing you an exclusive interview, near enough, it's exclusive to us, with one of the directors of Glidance. This is the robotics company who have developed a robotic mobility aid that's... Well, they say won't replace the guide dog, but I see it doing so. It operates on GPS. It's got 360 vision with all these very clever sensors, and it acts as a guide dog in as much that it will guide you and navigate you round obstacles on a pavement and alert you to any overhanging obstacles and advises you when steps are approaching, whether they're ascending or descending, and more.
Along the bottom there are short-range sensors that really help with the obstacle avoidance and local path planning. And then we have a camera right at the top of the handle so that the device has a nice view of all the environment, the space in front of you, and help to determine a good, safe path to guide you on.
Maybe you've used one of these. If so, do get in touch. I would love to hear from you. I'm thinking about it, although the first thing that went through my mind is the aesthetics of them do remind me of a bit of a mini road sweeper or a pavement sweeper when you're going around collecting up the rubbish. And I don't know, I had this awful feeling of someone just hailing someone over the other side of the road and saying, oh, look at that blind guy, they've got them sweeping the streets at long last, But it doesn't seem to be picking up much. Maybe you've experimented with one of these. I haven't. So if you have, I'd love to hear what your experience, whether you liked it, whether you disliked it, whether you think more needs to be done to improve it. Maybe you've got one or two concerns. Well, if so, do get in touch. info@talkingpoint.site or text or WhatsApp 079 485 68191. I'm Philip Anderson, and this has been Talking Point. My thanks to all of you for listening today, and a reminder that if it is you haven't subscribed, can I encourage you to do so? It does help others to find me. Full details can be found, including the RSS feed, on the talkingpoint.site website. In the meantime, whatever it is you're doing, do it safely, and until the next time, bye-bye.